these are the specific things that helped me go from someone who was super anxious to someone who is very present, calm, and I don't react to things badly like I used to. I used to react with anger. I used to have sleepless nights. Hello and welcome back. It has been a long time since I did a video like this. I think I said this when I was in Bali, I was on a roll. I just wanted to come back with a nervous system regulation checklist because I've been teaching more yoga, and obviously you're going to know that I'm going to start with number one. I wanted to just highlight the tools that I've used personally to regulate my nervous system. I know that there is a lot out there. These are the specific things that helped me go from someone who was super anxious to someone who is very present, calm, and I don't react to things badly like I used to. I used to react with anger. I used to have sleepless nights, and now I fall asleep easily. I sometimes sleep like 12 hours if I'm super tired. I just don't burn out because I'd rather not put my body under that stress. Like, I actually used to drink so much alcohol and then literally drive the next day as well, which was probably not safe, and then also like go to work the next day. And then yeah, but in the beginning also I used to like train a lot of jiu-jitsu, which really hurt my body, but at the same time that was also therapy at the time. Anyway, let's get into my list. I'm gonna list 6 things that really help me regulate my nervous system, and obviously yoga is number one. Let's get that out of the way with. First introduced, if you've watched my other videos, to meditation in therapy, because where meditation is where you like listen to your thoughts and what your thoughts are saying and becoming aware of them, and that's what was recommended in therapy before, because I'm sure there was actually a wait list, and then at uni I got referred to like a meditation group, and that's the story where I actually fell asleep in the meditation group because I was that relaxed. And someone with I can't remember who it was recently, but I'm sure someone with anxiety was like, how do you fall asleep in a room full of people? And it's like you don't get it. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, I got referred to a meditation group, so that's how I started to realize and notice the benefits to meditation. And then that's how, I read a lot, realized that I could actually change my mental health, and that yoga, I also got introduced to yoga through that, because I just started to read like all the psychology books and realized that I could actually take control of my mental health and change it. Because when I went on medication and when I went on therapy around 2018, that was the time when I was like, right, I'm done, which was probably a lifesaver in the beginning, because that was like the start of, it's like the butterfly effect, isn't it? That was like the start basically, because then that's how I realized I was stuck in this rut, this like subconscious rut, and then that's when I started to take the steps to get better. First of all, I went to that meditation group, obviously fell asleep, so clearly starting to relax and realized the benefits. So then I also used the Headspace app, and I actually meditated for 365 days straight. So number one is yoga and number two is meditation. But then sometimes I would, sit down to meditate, and like meditated for 365 days, but that doesn't mean to say that every single meditation was perfect, because I remember some days I really wouldn't feel like doing it, and I would put on just like a 5-minute one, and honestly I would sit there and probably not even be present majority of it, but I would tell myself like, at least I've tried. The guided meditation would still be going on in my ears, but like I would allow the thoughts to run away with my mind. But that's the whole intention. Like, eventually you can just witness them and not get caught up in them, but the majority of the time in the beginning, that's what it feels like. It feels like, oh, I'm actually meant to be meditating right now. And even sometimes up until recently, say you're in the middle like of a yoga especially at home, I think it's hard to not get distracted at home. Just grabbing your phone mid meditation or mid yoga practice is really distracting. So that's how I initially got introduced to it, through therapy. Went to the group, started with the app, the Headspace app. And then eventually lockdown came around and I was like, I might as well make use of my time. And then that's when one of my friends, actually, who I went to Ibiza with, slight contrast, when I did a summer in Ibiza in 2013, he was doing a yoga teacher training online with a school in India. And I was like, oh, perfect, because I was just qualifying as a PT as the gyms were locking down. And I was like, well, I might as well make use of my time. And I did a teacher training. It was such a good experience. Sometimes, like I said, if I sat down to meditate and I would be super distracted, yoga was the thing that helped me actually like move my body instead of just sitting there to meditate and then, you know, allowing thoughts to, or getting frustrated as well. Because I think in the beginning you can get quite frustrated with the, you know, the distractive thoughts or allowing your thoughts to run away with you. It can really get frustrating, because then you feel like, oh, well, I've just sat there for 5 to 10 minutes and I'm kind of meant to be just witnessing my thoughts, but I'm still allowing them to like take control, essentially. Yoga was something that allowed me to move my body and without me getting frustrated. So it was like a way of, still a way of being present and moving with my breath and allowing like me to release that energy through movement and through breath and through awareness without having to just sit still. And also, of course, like the release of the tension from the body as well. And it was around the time I'd started, so I did my yoga teacher training qualification early 2021, and then summer that year I started Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So then the two kind of interlinked. I started Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the summer, and then like after training or before training I would like start to just do some stretches. Maybe it wasn't even particularly yoga, but it would then mean that I wasn't aching from training jiu-jitsu. So then I noticed how different the comparison was in terms of training and stretching and doing yoga and when I didn't stretch after class. And because I was training so much jiu-jitsu, when I didn't stretch after class, I genuinely felt like I'd been hit by a bus. Like my body felt so stiff, like the morning after you train jiu-jitsu. If you've ever read James Clear, Atomic Habits, then you'll know that like by linking the habits that you already do with a new habit that you want, maybe it's the Make It Easy chapter. So then I continued to read like self-help books and diving deeper into like the yoga world. And then that's when I got some classes in a leisure center, and I also was teaching a little bit outside of that. I wanted to deepen my practice because I knew that there was more to yoga than just a 200-hour yoga teacher training. So I also wanted to really get out of the UK because it just, yeah, it wasn't a vibe. Early 2024, I went to Sri Lanka and studied with Barefoot Yoga School and did my 300-hour yoga teacher training. So that has kind of been my journey in terms of how I got into yoga and meditation. Those are number 1 and 2 about how I regulate my nervous system. Of course, like I said, like when I didn't use meditation, yoga was there for me when I felt I couldn't just sit still. Of course, like moving with the breath and moving the body, releasing any tension from any specific areas. I work a lot on the hips, especially before bed, because I tend to get tight hip flexors. So if there's one thing that I do before bed and I don't want to do any crazy sequence, I'll like at least release my hip flexors and work on the hips, because otherwise sometimes I can't like fully extend my legs and I feel like my hip flexors feels quite tight. So then I don't feel comfortable in bed, because is the intention of yoga like you're getting into specific postures and stretching and strengthening each and every muscle in the body. So then when you do come to sit to meditate, it's like then the body can finally relax and you haven't got like this ache in your lower back or this ache in your hip flexor. So then you have kind of released some of that tension in the body. So then when you do come to sit to meditate at the end of yoga, your body feels relaxed and you've released the tension that has been in the body. So more often than not, I will, or sometimes I admit I don't actually do any yoga before bed, and then I will actually try and sleep, and then I'll have to get up out of bed and get on my mat and at least stretch my hips out, like I say, because my hip flexors do tend to get tight, but nothing crazy, like 5 to 15 minutes. It depends on how I'm feeling. And also I will just add on as well, like I think it comes down to you tuning into what you need as well. I was talking to someone recently saying that you can use active yoga like vinyasa yoga or hatha or you can use yin. So depending on how you're feeling, you can use those different types of yoga to supplement your energy. If you've got a lot of energy to burn, then vinyasa, hatha. Or if you've got like less energy but you still need to like release the muscles, then doing some yin before bed. And I'll probably have both of those on YouTube if you want to check them out. I'll put some below actually. So moving with the breath, releasing tension from the body. Of course, coming back to the body is what helps regulate the nervous system, so that you are releasing that energy from the day, or you're just releasing the tension in the muscles that you've built up over the day or over the years, for what it was for me. And meditation was just a fundamental point of my life because, like I said, I was just super anxious, and I would, before I started meditating, I would literally lay in bed and overthink the slightest things, conversations from work, things about family, and bottle my emotions up as well. Like I've said more recently in one of my posts on Instagram that I genuinely couldn't feel any happiness or joy when I was anxious, because all I would feel is that worry and stress. And I actually come from a family who, my granddad was, God bless him, rest in peace, was still on antidepressants when he passed away. Family history I've had in terms of mental health issues being passed down, and I'm lucky enough to have decided or have the facilities and growth mindset to see that actually something can be changed and I don't need to live this way. Me starting therapy and meditation and self-help books was the step towards that. I have actually gone on about them quite a lot, and mainly just recapping, if you haven't already watched other videos about my journey, how I was introduced to yoga and meditation and how they impact the body. Meditation, in my opinion, what it helps do is helps you gain perspective about what is actually going on in your head. And I will say that journaling and reflection is one of the later points, but it's kind of that, it's like a self-reflection about what thoughts are coming up. Just repeat conversations in my head, and those would be the things that I would worry about at night and that would keep me up at night, and therefore not able to fully relax and go to sleep, and I would just have awful sleep. That is essentially what meditation is, just the ability to pause and observe your thoughts rather than react with them or get caught up in them. The third one is no screen time and solitude. Let me tell you, if I say that I've got plans, I'm probably just by myself. I can't lie, because I absolutely love time by myself. I'm very grateful for COVID in a way, because I went on medication just before COVID hit. Having that time to just take to yourself, essentially, it really helped me facilitate my growth in terms of, because I do think if you're going through therapy or on medication and stuff like that, you do need time to reflect and process. Even if you enjoy reading as well, that's like a low stimulation activity. An activity that's just low stimulation away from screens is very good for the nervous system. I even felt it after lockdown in terms of like the overstimulation, because I'm such a recluse and I actually really like solitude. I've realized how much my nervous system gets overstimulated, and then I think that also then made me realize how much I was probably ignoring how much my nervous system was overstimulated, and just like overriding the fact that my body probably needed some solitude when I wasn't particularly tuned into my needs. It makes sense as to why I felt so anxious and my whole body was just so active before I would go to sleep, because I wasn't regulating myself. Solitude, no screen time. And if you can't do that, then you need this now more than ever, because I notice when people can, just have silence, or maybe what feels like those uncomfortable silences, or always needs to have music. I used to be that person, to be fair, that always needed something on, always needed music on, and then eventually you just get to the point where silence is peace and quiet. It really is. Solo travel, highly recommend. Me and my family friend, who's my godmother, we were actually talking about how in her therapy sessions they were talking about how there can be people who are drains So if you think of a drain, and there can be people who are taps, and you've got to think of the taps as people that pour into you and that give to you, and also the people that are drains. And you've kind of got to think, like, how does each person that I interact with make me feel? You might not be able to control who you're around, or if there is like a particular person who is draining, then, you know, maybe taking steps to improve that, because I know how detrimental it can be if you're constantly around someone who's draining your energy. And this is a massive thing actually, as to like why I wanted to get out of the UK. I wanted to be in a new environment, and I just think for me, life is too short to be around anyone who doesn't pour into you, like the tap and the drains. And I do think that sometimes people can be both. Some people can give to you, and some people can drain you at the same time. So it's important to like really stand up for yourself, create your boundaries, and yeah, recognize and be self-aware around who does drain and who does give to you. So this is all of the things that happen when you do self-reflection and when you meditate on your thoughts and your feelings, because when I was anxious, I was never thinking about how I was feeling, what thoughts I was having, how other people were making me feel. Otherwise, I would have exited my situation a lot sooner. And I kind of wanted to create this video because I want other people to be able to get out of these situations earlier than I did, because I felt like I spent a lot of my 20s just in a situation that was not serving me whatsoever. And I'm now 30, 31 actually, coming up 32, which feels old. And I feel like I spent a lot of my time just being sucked up into other people's drama, and it's really not what you want. So if you regulate your nervous system, tune into how you're feeling, then you're going to be able to take action on the things that feel good for you, instead of on the things that, you know, just being guided by life, by external things happening to you rather than you taking control. That's essentially what I feel like happened to me. I wasn't really grounded in myself and making choices for my own well-being and my own desires. I was more so just literally going with the flow with life, rather than checking in with myself and taking advice from people that obviously have my best intentions, but like, you've got to check in with you and do what's best for you, essentially. So I think solitude and, you know, no screen time, particularly if you're feeling overstimulated, like if you've been socializing. I actually am not sponsored by them, I wish I was, but Loop headphones, Loop earplugs are so good. Like, oh my god, they are a lifesaver, particularly like when you're traveling, or if you're still out in the public and things just feel really overwhelming and noisy and you're tired, you have a headache, just put your Loop earplugs in and oh my god, it's bliss, I swear. If you get overstimulated or overwhelmed very easily, please go and buy the Loop earplugs. They're not even that expensive. I think they work out at like 50 English pounds or 30 Australian dollars. So go get them, go get them. And I also use them on a night as well, and I'm sure they worked in Bali. The building works. Fourth one is Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I was like, I can't not go without saying that Brazilian jiu-jitsu helped regulate my nervous system, because although I was overtraining and burning myself out in the beginning because I was still kind of dysregulated when I first started around 2021, it honestly saved my life, because it was around the time when I just kind of stopped taking medication, 1 or 2 years after I'd stopped taking medication, and I was training quite a lot. But even now, when I find myself not training, like I've had an injury, I actually notice that I have like more energy, sometimes an excess in energy, because it 100% allows me to release some of that like frustration or tension that I otherwise would not release. Yeah, unless you're doing like a mixed martial art, like striking or something. I feel like you wouldn't release it. Or maybe if you went for a run or something like that, that's definitely, I think, I mean, I don't do it often, but if I do feel like, you know, I think one evening, one evening in the UK, I felt like I had excess energy. And to be fair, sometimes I do it now. Like if I know I want to sleep well on an evening, I will do like a little bit of a run in the gym, in the weightlifting gym. Yeah, jiu-jitsu, in the beginning, it was something that would, because you have to concentrate and be present, it was a form of escapism where I kind of forget my thoughts. You can release your anger, but also while not hurting the training partner, or hopefully not hurting your training partner. So it's like the same, essentially the same as yoga, because obviously you're moving with the breath, You need to be present, and you need to be aware of where you're putting your body in a certain position. So it's kind of practically the same as yoga, but just a little bit more aggressive cuddling, being able to speak to people as well. Sometimes if I haven't seen family or friends, it's a great way to go, and then you have lots of friends in one room. Yeah, it's a great way to meet people if that's what you need. Also, it not only regulates through like the movement, but also through the connection and like the social connections that you get with doing jiu-jitsu. And now, I've said in previous videos, I literally have friends all over the world, which is pretty cool. The fifth one is nature. Honestly, can't go anywhere or live anywhere without having nature close by. This is why I was like, I don't want to come to Melbourne, but I've been here for nearly a year, which is crazy. And thank God for St Kilda Botanical Gardens, or I don't think I would be here. I actually seen someone hugging a tree in St Kilda Botanical Gardens, and I was like, you know what? I actually rate it, because like trees are just so rooted into the ground. Like you can't get any more grounded than that. My sister once asked me, what does grounding mean? Probably because she's a stressed out solicitor. And I was like, oh, it's like when you put your bare feet on the earth is really beneficial, the whole nervous system. And even when I sit just for 5-10 minutes after I've had like a hectic day or something in St Kilda Botanical Gardens, I'm like, I can actually feel like my nervous system relax. So being in nature, whether that's by the water, in the mountains, just go to a park, put your bare feet on the floor, and maybe don't put your feet on the cold floor, because that's also not good for you in traditional Chinese medicine. But maybe wrap up and just go outside, get cozy and warm, and just go and sit by a tree and read a book for a little while. Just don't freeze if you're in the UK. Being in nature, hence why I'm hosting my yoga and yap. Being in nature is just so regulating for the nervous system. Just go and be by a tree. Go hug some trees. It doesn't matter if other people think you're weird, and notice the difference to how you feel from when you first came into the park to when you left, and report back. And the sixth one is journaling, reflection, gratitude. This is actually something that I kind of need to work on, but it is something that, I mean, right now, but I've honestly done it so much. There's been like different periods of my life where I've depended on journaling, how I'm feeling, and I think I particularly use it where my emotions feel quite intense, or I need to kind of rationalize something and get it out on paper and see it from a different perspective. So I really do go through stages of using journaling, but I think there's honestly nothing better than journaling your thoughts and feelings just as they come out. Or yeah, if you're trying to gain perspective of a situation, and I think it is just another form of emotional release. So it's kind of getting that out onto paper and just releasing it from the body essentially. So there's honestly nothing better than just writing it out on paper. I really don't. And obviously there's all the journal prompts in the world that you can use online, which is at your fingertips. But I really rate personally just writing out how I'm feeling, or anything that's currently happening, and of course like things that you're grateful for as well. Something that I'm trying to do more recently is becoming aware when I've got stuck in a rut of maybe like a pessimistic mindset, because I still find myself doing that a lot of the time, and focusing on the things that aren't going well in my life and kind of turning it on its head and realizing that actually like how far I've came and all of the things that are going well. And that's exactly why I started to host yoga and yap, because I need to continue the momentum, and I absolutely love hosting these things, and I've hosted 2 already. My third one is next weekend, and I'm super excited to meet a couple of new faces actually. I think there's some returners as well, so I'm really excited for that. So I hope this has been super helpful for you, and I really think that they're mainly things that connect the inner world with the outer world, and really getting back in the body, moving the body, and paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and any sensations in the body as well. I've more recently had massages, and there was a period where like I think I had like a bit of an injury from jiu-jitsu, so that influenced me to start getting my shoulders massaged. But then I also felt like a huge release from my shoulders, and just so many parts of the body that are connected with the tension that you're holding as well. So for me that was was like a huge part as well, because I was like, even though I got the jiu-jitsu injury in my neck and then started to get the massage because of that, I actually think that I released tension that I'd been holding on to, like separate from the jiu-jitsu injury. So yeah, I think it's just really about coming back to the body and using these tools like yoga, meditation, taking some time to reflect, and then jiu-jitsu as well. It's equally releases releases anger on your training partners, and also it's fun, and it's a way of being social, and being in nature is super regulating for the nervous system, and just being outdoors as well. There's nothing worse than being inside all the time. And also journaling as well, whether that's tuning in back into being grateful for what you do have. I know this can be particularly hard when you're feeling super anxious, because there was at times when I was like, I just don't see it. Like I said before, like when I was super anxious, I genuinely could not even feel joy, like, and could not see a way out, obviously, at some point, because I went on medication in the end. But yeah, so then that's when I just resorted to yoga, meditation. And then eventually I've got to the point where actually, I don't need, came off the medication. I don't have therapy right now. I don't have a therapist right now. And yeah, life is pretty good. And I just want to help you. So if you have any questions about any of these things, or yeah, anything you need guidance on, then please hit me up and let me know how you go. And I'll see you on the next video.